Dead Island 2 is pretty much everything you'd want in the sequel. The core gameplay is for the most part the same: kill zombies mindlessly, use all types of weapons, drop kicks, level up, and upgrade your gear to be the best zombie slayer you can be. But there's a different vibe this time around. The game has more character, more color, and there's a copious amount of detail that Deep Silver Dam Buster put into this. The story takes place in the quarantined island of Los Angeles, which is now the home of land rupture and earthquakes, hordes of undead, you, and survivors like serious fan favorite Sam B. Your character gets infected and finds out they're immune-ish to the zombie virus, and it's a pretty run-of-the-mill story about solving that mystery while fighting not to turn. There are 6 characters to choose from, all with their own dialogue and interactions with the various NPCs of the game, and with their own set of innate skills and attributes. For instance, Ryan has more toughness, and so he can be more tanky when he's in the infested streets. Speaking of streets, Studio Dan Buster was not playing about the linearity of this game. Most of it plays out in areas that are a lot more confined than what we experienced in the first Dead Island. There are some medium-sized open areas like the Santa Monica Pier and Venice Beach, which by the way was very well done for someone who spent many hours there, but for the most part the level design is fairly tight, which is why there are no vehicles in this game like there were in the first. But it allows for some menacing jump scares from zombies, and it allows Studio Dan Buster to go nuts with the level design. That is most definitely one of the highlights of this game. They truly took the time to make sure no two areas felt the same, and I appreciate it in a post-apocalyptic LA how every room told a story and just the design. All the broken structures, wall writing, blood spatterings, etc. had their own narrative, bringing about a different type of exploration in this game, where the satisfaction isn't found in simply traversing the map, but more so in observing the remains of empty locales. The characters all have pretty fun personalities. Maybe because I lived in LA for a decade, I was able to pick up some of the light jabs they were throwing at LA types with some of the NPCs, but I enjoyed them all and was even pretty sad to see some of them go. Even the zombie variety was pretty large, which is a problem these types of games tend to run into. So yeah, the environment and character design was top notch, A+. As far as the meat and potatoes, the combat, it was pretty much hit and miss. More hit than miss though. You'll find yourself mixing several styles of combat, from melee combat to firearms to throwables to the good old-fashioned drop kicks. Most of the weapons feel very gratifying to wield, my favorite being bats, golf clubs, and pretty much anything sharp. But a couple of the weapons felt a bit off, like sledgehammers and mallets. The sense of weight was lacking while wielding these weapons, yet sent zombies flying like paper in the wind. I wasn't too fond of that, so I didn't use these weapons as much. Honestly, once you're a decent ways through the story, you get firearms and ammunition blueprints, so you'll likely be using those quite a bit since they take down zombies a lot quicker. Ammunition is finite, however, so you'll definitely want to find a nice rotation of melee weapons you like, and you can select and switch them in and out of your weapon wheel with the greatest of ease. Also, aiming down the sights in this game felt useless at times because the areas are so confined. It's not like you're hitting zombies long distance, so you'll likely find yourself doing a lot of hip firing. All the weapon mods and upgrades you remember from the previous game are back. I would have liked to see more than just the typical fire, electric, acid, and bleeding variations of the mods, but I think the sheer amount of different weapons helps to keep things varied. You also have throwables called curveballs, which include things like bait, pipe bombs, Molotov cocktails, and even ninja stars. The flesh system was a great addition to the series and made targeting body parts a lot more satisfying and strategic. The card system, which replaced the skill tree, is actually good and allows any character to pick and choose which perks and abilities best suit them. For instance, you can choose this card to do the old classic drop kick, or choose this one to do a Bruce Lee-like dragon kick. Then on top of that, you can select cards that buff whichever kick you choose. I was pleasantly surprised with how polished this game was. I only ran into one bug in my nearly 20 hours playing the main campaign, and only experienced a couple of graphical hitches while playing co-op on PS5 with a colleague from Poland. I did feel the story was rushed and not all that great, to be honest, which made the fact that it ended on a cliffhanger a bit disappointing. I also wasn't a fan of the final boss battle. They straight up pulled an Order 1886 on us, and if you played that game, you already know what issue I'm referencing. But no game is without its flaws, and I think overall Dead Island 2 does what it needs to do: provide a casual, brainless zombie killing experience that can be played with friends and doesn't require you to sweat too much. If you're looking for a sweaty, hardcore zombie game with parkour, you might want to stick to Dying Light 2, because this game is a lot more laid back. Otherwise, go chill over in LA. The weather is nice, the scenery is beautiful, and the gore is abundant.